Draymond Green doesn't praise anybody,
No.
right? Like, unless they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah.
He's more likely to say somebody is way overrated. Whereas,
Mm.
like, you go like, "Hey man, this dude is good." You're like, "Man, he ain't that good," and blah blah. Break it down. When Draymond praises somebody, it's usually because he's played against them and he's felt like, no, that's different. So for him to be like, "Yo, Ausar Thompson, like, this is crazy what he's doing. We need to talk about it more."
He went out of his way
Like,
twice after the Pistons game and on Twitter.
yes,
Yeah.
Right.
and this is like a 4-time MVP. Like, so I'm curious. Like, the thing that Draymond does is so valuable because it leads to winning, right? And you got Steph Curry next to you, so now it's amplified. See, you've watched this for years, right? What
Right.
Draymond does matters so much because it leads to winning. What happens to Ausar if what he does that's so valuable and so important in this league
Right.
never leads to winning, right? Do
Yeah.
you get to build on it like that? That's why I'm worried about him. Maybe
That's
I'm just
fair.
too much.
No, I think that's great. I think it's a great point. I think eventually it will, because I think eventually they'll get better players. Like, they have no choice now at this point. Like, whether it's a trade because they're not winning, or next summer when they have 60 million in cap space, it's going to change. And I agree with you. Like, Ausar, yes, what he does leads to winning, but when you have to start him and Cade and Killian and Stewart and Duran, it's like, okay, like, nobody out here can shoot. Like, I love Ausar as a person. I love watching him play. Like, he's the sweetest kid, but like, kid can't shoot right now, and that's why he's struggling. And he's still, like, he's going to be a good secondary, tertiary option, like initiating offense. But right now, he gets into traffic and he loses the ball. Like, his handle is just not where it needs to be. Defensively, the hustle plays, the Draymond plays are there. He just doesn't have Steph and Clay next to him, right? So it's not amplified. But I think eventually, as they figure this thing out and you see Cade play with more space, you see Ivy kind of get in the good graces of Williams and start playing more and have a bigger role. I certainly think, like, you're going to see Ausar shine even more, like, and it lead to winning eventually. Like, this year, I wouldn't. This year is kind of a wash at this point. It's what they do when they add, like, when they go and spend money and what it looks like, because they love Ausar. Like, Ausar will be. I think Ausar will be a Piston for a very long time.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I feel like they're going to build around Cade and Ausar as their, like, franchise players. You know who else also loves Ausar Thompson is Chris Mullin. He never shuts up about Ausar Thompson. Even, like, on NBC Sports Bay Area, they'll do the Around the NBA. He will talk about Ausar Thompson doing things defensively that no one's doing at his age, particularly, but in general as well. So he's got quite a few future and current Hall of Famers. And me, I'm not a Hall of Famer, but I am a huge fan of Ausar Thompson. And I read your article about how he values defense, and that him and his brother value that over everything, right? More so, they think the typical adage, defense wins championships. And just like Marcus is saying, it's not winning much for him. From a team perspective, the only thing that I've seen them do consistently is run. Like, run and dunk, be athletic, all the above. What is happening in their half court to you that is prohibiting them from being able to be effective defensively when they're as athletic and long and bouncy and active and young as they are? They should be getting deflections and steals daily and running the floor. And they're doing well, I think, at fast break points, but still not as much as you would think with a team that young.
No, that's a good point. I think it's two things. They turn the ball over a lot, so other teams are scoring easy points, and they're not able to get it out in transition on the other side. Secondly, they don't, for whatever reason, they don't force a lot of turnovers. I'm not really sure why that is.
It's positioning, man. That stuff is positioning.
Yeah.
Like, you got to, even if you're an athlete, you got to be in the right spot.
And you would position too, a lot of young guys, that's probably their biggest. You guys watch James Wiseman. Like, positioning is, young guys can't figure out where to be all the time.
Sure,
I mean, you see it now with Kuminga, right? With Jonathan Kuminga. Like, when he's in a great position, he's going to be good. But if he's not,
okay, same thing. But you think about Pajemski and you think about Moody. Half of that is hustle too. Like, just
100%.
Throwing themselves at, like, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, when you've got eight of your roster right now is, like, in the last two drafts, that's where you got them.
Yeah.
or they came from. Like,
Sure.
it just doesn't make sense to me that they're that young and not as active or not as hustle like oriented as you would imagine.